So now we're officially starting. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As always, we really appreciate your time away from your busy schedules to join Cobalt in this live session. We're about 2.5 week away from IBC. So surely we hope to get to meet with many of you at the show. We're really preparing a nice show. We have a slightly new booth location. For you guys who are used to seeing Cobalt on that corner, we're on a slightly different corner, 90 degrees from that old location. Very close by is to in Hall 10 and closer to the front door, actually. So you'll be able to find us looking at our sign up on, hanging sign. So hope to meet most of you, if, all of you there. A quick note on the RIS Forum. The RIS Forum continues to grow, and we will again have a gathering during the IBC event. So it's going to be on Saturday, September 16th from 5 to 6 p.m. There's going to be a cocktail party at the Zixi booth. Every show we try to have it at a different vendor. This time, last year at IBC was actually a Cobalt. And this coming IBC is going to be at the Zixi booth again on Saturday from 5 to 6. If you're interested in getting details and meeting some of the RIS members and talk about RIS or learn more about the technology or how to implement it, please drop me a note on the chat here or send me an email, and I'll make sure to send you the invitation and the details in writing. So let's get started here. I would like to introduce our speakers today. So Dr. Ciro Noronha is here with us again. He's our CTO for Cobalt Digital. Chris Garcia, who heads Cobalt Sales Engineering and also sales for the Western and Latin America regions, will also be presenting. So thank you very much to you both. We've received, again, many requests from domestic and international customers to record and post a session on the YouTube channel. So you surely should be able to find it in the next day or so. This session posted on our channel. Would like to thank you very much for your partnership and your business throughout the years. We just closed another strong fiscal year this past May. And the most important thing for us really is to continue to add new customers every month. And it's been something we've been able to accomplish for many, many years in a row. So we're very excited to grow our customer base, and thanks to you for all your help. Cobalt keeps enhancing its product lines and doing what we do best in each category. So we've added to the routers, we've added to the multiviewers, we've been adding to the converters, to the compression line. So, and one change that you might have noticed in the past year is that we started to name the different product lines under different product families. So we started last year with Indigo and Sapphire and Wave, which are shades of blue to play along with the Cobalt shade of blue. And recently, in time for IBC, we added the UltraBlue IP multiviewer product line, the Pacific compression product line, and also MAX, which is short for maximum, which is our brand new high power frame. So those are all, again, other shades of blue. So we're slowly making the transition to product families as opposed to all the 9,000s, 8,000s, and all the numbers that we used in the past. So trying to make your lives easier too. We'll get started here with we always show our worldwide customers. Again, what I just said, we keep growing our customer base. And here at the agenda, we can see the different products we're going to be covering today. We're going to cover each one of the new products and also the recently announced products that have some new features. And we'll get started with the new UltraBlue IP multiviewer with Dr. Ciro. So I'll leave you with Ciro now. Thank you very much. And I'll be checking the chat feature. So if you have, and also I'll be taking breaks. So if you have any questions or comments, please help us have an interactive session. Thank you so much. And I'll leave you with Ciro. Thanks, Ciro.
Thank you, Susanna. And again, if you have questions, feel free to interrupt and ask them. So we're going to start with something new, the UltraBlue IP multiviewer. So what's that? UltraBlue is a software-based multiviewer. Cobalt has for a long time made hardware-based multiviewers. We had 2 generations of that, but now we're moving into a software-based multiviewer, which can be scaled to an arbitrary number of inputs and outputs. So we will start with compressed inputs over a whole bunch of protocols. Out of the gate, it will support UDP, RTP, FAC. Since we are in the RISC forum, it's RISC as well. We'll support RISC. And I would say it's the same RISC stack as the Cobalt compression products and the SafeLink gateway. So simple main profile RISC will support SRT if you want to use that. And the line will be eventually extended to RTMP, RTSP, HLS, and will also support baseband video 2110. The management of the UltraBlue multiview is through a very intuitive web interface. And you see an example here of this web interface. What can you do with it? I'm going to be talking about it and showing the web interface, but you can do everything you expect for a professional high-end multiviewer. You can arbitrarily rotate screens and pips. You will see that in the demo when we get to the boot demos. Arbitrary pip sizing and positioning, which we always had in our hardware multiviewers, is there too. Audio bars fully configurable, arbitrary UMDs. You can put any text you want. As expected, closed captioning support, arbitrary graphic overlays. We always put some nice graphics for our multiviewer. This is no different. What's different here is we're going to have extensive user management, so you can create groups of users. You can give them rights. You can have an administrator. You can have an operator. You log into the multiviewer, your screens, the way you like them assigned, just pop up. And again, the usual things, clock displays, alarms, audio routing, and presets. So it's a very, very feature-rich multiviewer. How are we going to sell it? We're going to provide that. You can get it as a software package when you load your own hardware. So you have the hardware. We're going to help you pick, right? It's not going to be any hardware, but you can buy the hardware and just load the software. If you say, I don't want to do that, I just want to buy something, I want to buy a box that does it, we'll provide that, a turnkey hardware solution, and you can run it in a cloud instance, as a cloud instances. In that case, since it's in the cloud, there's no HDMI in the cloud, so you get a WebRTC output in that case, or more, one for each head. We'll license it per stream or per input, and you can have as many heads as your hardware supports. All right, that's it for the multiviewer. We're going to talk about a little bit more about it later on when we get to the boot demos, because it's going to be in the boot. But now I'm going to.
Cyril, there's a question on is this GPU or CPU based encoding?
It is. It can do both actually. There's some NVIDIA's GPU that we are targeting. And we're going to obviously offer a calculator to see how far it is, but we do support both CPU and GPU decoding.
And he asked if a GPU, which model. So I guess we will provide.
Yeah, we'll provide that. It's I don't know from the top of my head. There's some we've been testing with out of the gate. Will be some NVIDIA GPUs, and any plans for mixed STI and IP? Yes. For your own hardware, you will get not day one, but it's in the roadmap. It will be soon. You'll be able to bring in SDI with a capture card, and you will be able to put a proper Ethernet for SMPTE 2110. It will be a real-time multiviewer. So full decoding, not just iframes, they will full decoding, nice smooth video. And I'm trying to catch up with the question. So
Yeah. There's a lot of
smooth decoding, full decoding of everything, full decoding of the audio. You'll be able to route the audio to the HDMI and listen to it. So for the cloud instance, at the beginning, we are going to come up with a WebRTC, but yes, we are planning to have SRT or basic UDP RTP. Once you encode the thing, you can provide it out in a protocol. So and everything is real time with as little latencies as we can make. I mean, it is software decoding on a GPU, so there will be some latency, but it will be everything real time. Any more questions on the multiviewer? Okay. If there are no more questions on the multiviewer, and I invite you to, I'll come see it. It will be there. And at the end of this presentation, when we talk about the boot demos, I'll talk about the multiviewer demo we're going to have there. It's going to be really, really nice demo. So moving on, I will turn it on to Chris Garcia for an update on the Indigo 2110 product. Go ahead, Chris.
Great, thank you, Cyril. Okay, so for I'm sure maybe many of you guys know that Cobalt has a product that's which we call the Indigo platform. This is a relatively new addition to our products that allows any of our popular UDX or MPX platforms to support the inbound or outbound of 2110 signals. This product that we have here on the screen, this is actually has become a sort of a leading flagship solution from Cobalt. What it adds to existing workflows and anybody that has already invested in our current baseband products is the ability to have now native support for any of the processing. So for example, if you have a 9904 or 9905 card, this allows you to bring in 2110 content into one of these cards, do all your processing, whether it's color correction, HDR, shuffling, or encoding, decoding your audios, doing all that sort of baseband processing, but you're doing it at the IP2110 level where there's no need to go through multiple layers of conversion. You basically come in and you come out as a 2110 source. What we're also doing with this is that it's allowing the footprint inside of it, whether it's a production truck or production facility, to have less gear, less devices or appliances that need to be powered and managed, because you're all doing it on top of the same car that's already supported, which I just mentioned these two models. Now, can we go to the next slide? Now, in this slide, we illustrate exactly how that works for either the 9904 or 9905 card. If you look at the top example, this card, or the Indigo daughter board, what it does, it offers two 25 gig ports that allow the card, any of these two cards, to either have a single primary backup, or you can have redundancy if you want for inbound or outbound out of the cards. Now, depending on the model that you have, you can have, for example, up to 4 3G streams in and out of the card with 2110, which is via the two 25 gig ports. Or if you have the 9904, which now gives you the flexibility to process this as a 4K 12G, either 12G SDI or quad 3G SDI, which is what we're illustrating with this example. Now, either of those two configurations will support the NMOS 04 and 05, which will give the user the automatic discovery and configuration of any of the sources that may be within a certain workflow. Like I said, what it's really one of the value adds for this product is that you're keeping costs to a minimum, and you're just enhancing the productivity and flexibility of your existing 9904, 9905 products by adding this addition, which we call the Indigo 2110 daughter board. Next slide. And then one thing that we added just recently was the ability to support for example, 2 audio essence per path. In the first iteration, we did not support that. Now it is part of the offering that we offer for any of the 2 cards that I just mentioned. So what that means is that there's no constraints on how those embedded 16 audio channels are mapped into those 2 different essences that I just mentioned. Another thing is that natively on either of these 2, we support the PSF frame rate. So now you can have a 1080 PSF either in or out of one of these 2 cards. And then also any of the IP or 2110 sources will be auto-detectable. So just like any SDI baseband signal, this will also have the same capability. And then we've also added the ability to have built-in PTP frame sync for any of those inbound SDI signals, which is what we're treating, again, the way it behaves almost like a regular baseband. And then that means that it'll provide the ability to log to PTP based on the black burst for the frame. And then we're going to be adding additional support. So one of those that we mentioned is the asynchronous ST2110 inputs that will accept different devices that are not synchronized with PTP. So that's just a quick update to what's coming or what we already support within these 2 platforms. Excited? And then I quickly mentioned the 9904 platform. So I mentioned that product or this product in relation to the 2110. But what we're looking at here, the 9904, this is it's become our flagship product for all this multi-processing that we do with our different technologies. So with this, it's a single channel card. So you have available up to 6 inputs and outputs that you can utilize. You can toggle between those inputs, but at any given time, you're only going to have 1 available processing channel, which is, it may be not good for some customers, but good in the sense that you at least can be able to toggle between any source and destination that you may have attached to this as part of the workflow. But what this offers is the ability to process any signal that's from SD all the way through 12G. You can do any of the popular frame rates, doing up and down cross conversion. You can do your conversion between 12G and quad 3G, process anything in level A, level B, embed, de-embed all your audios, do all that, sort of advanced processing. And as you can see in this, in the block diagram that we have in this slide, you're going to see a lot of these little processing elements, which are sort of defined by these blocks or these steps in the workflow. A lot of what you see here that's in black, that is by default offer within the card. Anything that you see highlighted in blue, these are what we call the premium optional licenses that you can enable on this product. And those licenses you can see are basically, more premium, and these include like the color correction, inserting or managing logos, 3D LUTs, being able to manage timecode with the LTC. You can also have an option for fiber, so you can have fiber in and out of this card as well. And then we also have a very high premium product or license in this case, which is the ability to support HDR via the Technicolor intelligent tone mapping solution, which is another license that we can activate on this card. And that includes being able to process Dolby, either encoding, shuffling, mixing, doing all that advanced processing. Next slide. And then another license that we've added to this is the ability to natively support Dante on this card. What we're basically offering with this is a block that can be a block for 16 channels of input and 16 channels of output. We're offering this sort of as a flexibility point to be able to give the users a little more flexibility within the card, as opposed to having to go externally to do all the processing. And again, this is also compatible with the Indigo 2110, but it's very, very much so a feature that has been requested to give a little more flexibility and functionality when you're working with embedded audios. MADI, AES, and then now obviously Dante sort of creates a more flexible fusion between different audio processing elements. Next slide. And then part of the family, the processing sort of platforms that we have, I mentioned that this model in the 2110 slide, but this now takes the flexibility a little more to a higher level with the ability to process 4 independent channels, which is what we support with this platform. But it limits those 4 channels to a maximum resolution of 3G. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of processing already within the FPGA of this product. So to be able to maximize and provide a high quality processing level, we limit this to 4 channels of 3G to give any user or any workflow just a good amount of processing power, but not overdoing it where you start to limit the quality. And in this case, we offer the same as the 9904, but the resolution only goes as high as the 1080p. And we still offer a very similar, license, sort of selection that you offer with the other 9904. And then the next slide. And then what we see here in this audio block that we have here, it's sort of illustrating exactly how the audios behave inside of the 9905. So for example, I have 4 video channels that I can process at any time. And more often than not, those audio channels would have embedded audios. So with those embedded audios, what I can do now with the AES, MADI, or Dante is that I can use those channels to either embed or de-embed any of those or mix and match any of those audios within the available audio processing elements that I also have within the car. So for example, I can take 64 Dante and then push them through the the video path by either embedding or de-embedding, or I can take MADI and AES and process that in the same fashion. And again, this is also compatible with the SE2110. Slide. And then we have some updates to some flexible conversion products that we've recently started to roll out from Cobalt. Next slide. This first platform that we have here, we call this the Sapphire Bidirectional. So that's what the BIDI stands for. And bidirectional is really in this context is really between HDMI and SDI. So what we have here is the ability to take any of the HDMI signals or sources and come out SDI, or I can also take SDI and come out HDMI if I need to. What is very unique about this platform is that I have all the controls for all my AV, sort of configuration requirements. But I also have, by default, frame sync, which a lot of our competition does not offer that within the same platform. In most cases, that sort of gets processed or done externally to any device or appliance that's doing this type of conversion. We also offer the scaling option, which allows, for example, to bring in a source either at 720 in a specific frame rate and then come out, let's say, 1080 in a different frame rate. And then I also have the ability to, at the last minute, do any color correction, which now allows a user to be able to match screens or convert any signal if you're coming from HDMI or SDI. So making it sort of normal to whatever workflow you're working on, whether it's based on HDMI or SDI. So that is a very flexible solution, and it offers a lot of also flexibility for shuffling and routing your audio channels within the same platform. Next slide.
Okay, I'll take it from here. Thank you, Chris. So also in the line of Sapphire converters, there was a question about JPEG access. So we're starting to have products in that arena. So we'll start with the Sapphire BBG units, which do conversion from JPEG access to HDMI for behind the monitor mounting. So we'll start with 2 models. One is a single channel unit with both HDMI and SDI outputs, and another is a dual channel unit with dual HDMI outputs, and in that case, there is no SDI. So This is JPEG access decoding, and that feature is going to move into the Indigo product as well as an option. So just like everything else, these boxes have dual SFP cages with 10 gig and 25 gig Ethernet support. Yeah, of course, you don't need 10 gig for or 25 gig for JPEG access, but it's there. It's nice. You can connect to the switch. Why 2? Because even though it's behind the monitor mounting, you may want to have a 2022-7 seamless switching. So dual path. Quiet operation. You can see that there is no fan on this thing, so it's very quiet. I can put it in studio environment, so very quiet operation. And it also supports uncompressed video. It's a different firmware, so it's not simultaneous. But if you want just 2110 to monitor, which people nowadays are using more than one box, you can use this box for directly 2110 to monitor. Another important thing about this is 2022-7 Class C1 operation. So where do you use JPEG access? In many cases, you use it in a one link because you bring the bitrate down, so you can send it over a wide area. So we do support differential delays up to 150 milliseconds. Something important, asynchronous 2110 output. So if you are very familiar with 2110, you know that all the videos have to be PTP locked, and sometimes you get low-end equipment that isn't. This will take something that's not PTP locked. The device has an additional gigabit Ethernet port for management. You can see it in the picture. Just like everything else we do, it's got NMOS ISO4, ISO5 support, so it can be automatically discovered. And just like everything else we do, this is managed by dashboard. So this is integrated in the openGear ecosystem. At release, it will support resolutions up to 1080p 60, but there will be a firmware upgrade to bring this to 4K. So we'll be able to do 4K JPEG access or uncompressed. That's why eventually you need that 25 gig interface.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that the unit is 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So it's very, very small for people who don't have an idea by looking at the photo.
Yeah, it's a little thing. We'll have a physical mount, or you can put it in a VESA mount, and it just lives behind the monitor. You just put it in there and forget about it. And it will work forever, since it doesn't have a fan to fail. All right. Let's move on to the compression product updates. So as Susanna indicated, we're now calling that a shade of blue, which is now, it's the Pacific line. And we'll start with this new thing here, new product, which is where we are introducing a new openGear decoder card. And the great new thing about this decoder is this ultra low latency decoder. So it can decode in less than 5 milliseconds, obviously with a suitable stream, stream that doesn't have forward references and B frames. You can decode that in 5 milliseconds. So if you pair it with our 9992 encoder, which is now called the Pacific 9992 encoder, but this is the same product. If you pair it with the ultra low latency mode of that encoder, you can have subframe end-to-end latency, obviously excluding the network latencies. So it's got the same feature set as our shipping 9992 decoder, and it's lower power. It's 20 watts. It's under 20 watts, actually around 17, but I'm being conservative and saying 20 versus 35 watts. So what does it do? We'll support MPEG-2 AVC and HEVC, all of these with ultra low latency. It supports 422 and 420, 8-bit, 10-bit. The only minor difference is on this product, we won't support 10-bit MPEG-2 decoding. Never seen anybody use that, but I got to bring this up. The audio decoding features are the same as the 9992 decoder. And also, please keep in mind that if you're going for ultra low latency, you can't compress audio. Audio has to be PCM. Network protocol features exactly the same as the 9992 decoder. And again, same feature, it supports 2 decoders up to 1080p 60 or 1 decode up to 4K. One thing that we plan to offer in this product is a quad decode. So same hardware, we'll be able to support quad decode, but with one restriction. They will have to be all the same compression standard. So all MPEG-2, all AVC, or all HEVC. So if you can live with that, we can do a quad HD decode. I didn't write HD, but it's quad HD decode. And you can see here the I/O panel for it. Let's do a quick review of our encoders. You probably, if you've been to these presentations before, you've seen this table before. Nothing has changed. We have the 9223 decoder, which is encoder, which is a utility encoder that does 264 4208 bit up to 3G. And the Pacific 9992 encoder, which used to be called 9992 encoder, that does everything. And the audio support is the same. I want to highlight one thing here: the LPCM audio column that we always had. LPCM is just uncompressed audio. If you want to go ultra low latency, and if you're going to go down to the wire, unfortunately, you cannot compress audio. Audio has to be uncompressed, which means it will be 2 megabits per second per stereo pair. Because if you do anything else, MPEG-1 layer 2 takes 24 milliseconds to encode, Dolby takes 32, and AAC takes 20 milliseconds. So if you're going subframe, you can't afford that. So you will have to do uncompressed audio. Same list for the decoders, and now there's a new line for the Pacific ULL. This is the new decoder I just showed you. It will be at IBC being demonstrated, and I basically duplicated the line from the 9992 to the Pacific. It does basically the same things, with the exception of MPEG-2 at 10-bit. Oh, okay. Now, what's new about the Pacific line since last IBC? There's a few things that I want to highlight for you. There is a feature in RIST in TRL62 called null packet deletion, which is basically you remove the null packets on transmission and you put them back on the other side. Markers are sent, so you still have a fully compliant stream, and you save bandwidth. So that's now supported. It's supported in the Cobalt devices, also supported in the LibRIST, and it's fully compliant. The other thing is support for TRL6 for Part 1 source adaptation, which I believe is the only product in the market with support for the standardized version of source adaptation. The idea is the encoder adjusts the bandwidth based on decoder feedback. So you can do all the packet recovery you want, but there's no way you push a 5 megabit per second stream on a 4 megabit per second link. So the decoder will say, well, there's excessive packet loss, and the encoder will bring down the bitrate dynamically. So rather than not working, you have a lower quality video, but you work and you don't have a glitch, and that's done on the fly. And the nice thing about that is, again, other companies have this, but we are the only one that does it at this point using the RIST standard, RIST specification. So eventually it will be interoperable with other vendors. The other new feature is IP output support in the 9992 decoder, which you take any of the inputs. This was available in the 9990 decoder. You can decode and then you can output. So you have not only a decoder, but a little gateway there. Another new feature, which is the Pacific 992 encoder and the 9223 legacy encoder, they now accept SCSI 104 over TCP directly from an automation system. Normally, what you do, and the way the standards recommend you do, is you do 104 to an inserter that puts it on SDI. So we have an SDI with SCSI 104, and then you send it to an encoder that then converts it to SCSI 35. Now we can talk directly the encoder to the automation system is the same SCSI 104 over TCP, and we support simultaneous operations. So the encoder will take the 104 over any of the interfaces. We support dual simultaneous AS connections, so we can have a primary and a backup AS, and either one of them can connect to the encoder and control it simultaneously. And you can signal future insertions, either immediate, VTC-based, or NTP-based are supported. So you can send a whole bunch of insertions to the encoder, and we'll store them and insert at the right time if you have NTP synchronization. So this is something that Cobalt has had in the inserter line in the 990.2s and the 999.4s and the 999.5s, but now it's directly on the encoder. So if you don't need an SDI feed decorated with SCSI 104, you don't need to buy an inserter. You can use that directly in the encoder. That's an option. 104 over SDI is included. It is a standard feature, but this is an option, and it's available now. We need to, since we're talking about compression, I need to talk a little bit about the SafeLink gateway, because there's some new stuff on this.
I was just gonna ask, sorry, since you covered the UltraView and you cover the converters and the Pacific, I was gonna ask if anyone had questions, and I was just gonna highlight quickly the time frames. So the UltraBlue IP multiviewer will be demoed at IBC, but it's also gonna be available for sales now in October. So the sales teams have pricing and everything. So you'll be able to ask for quotations and get pricing from them. Again, it will be available right after IBC. The same with the Sapphire BBG, the mini unit to be mounted behind the monitor. That's also going to be available for shipping now in Q4, October, November. And you can ask for a demo unit right now. And on the Pacific ULL decoder, that's the only one that's going to be available early Q1, so around January, February. So it's early Q1, and again, in Q4, you should be able to request for demo units. And there's pricing for all these products. The big highlight of the new Pacific ULL decoder is really, in addition to all the features, is the pricing. So it's a 2K channel, 1 4K channel, but it's going to be basically less than half of the current 2-channel 4K version of the 9992 decoder. So I just wanted to highlight that. So it's less than half the price. The sales team has pricing and availability. So if you want to ask specific questions at the end, we can. But I'll be happy to, talk to you offline or have you speak with any of the sales people. Thank you, Cyril. Sorry.
Thank you, Susanna. Important, right?
Yeah,
it's not every day that you're here. You're going to get more for less.
Yes.
And less power too. All right. So I want to remind you about the SafeLink gateway. RIST is available natively in all the Cobalt compression devices. But if you have a third-party device, a legacy third-party device that does not support RIST, we have a solution for that. Is the SafeLink gateway, which will receive unprotected streams over UDP or RTP, adds RIST protection, transmits over the internet, and regenerates the same thing on the other side. It's available now as an openGear card or an AWS instance. There's a cloud version of that, and we are coming up with a software package. So if you don't want to buy the openGear card with SafeLink, you can put it on your own hardware. So a quick review of the SafeLink. Supports 8 simultaneous streams. Each stream is a legacy RIST receive connected to a legacy or RIST transmit. So it receives and transmits. Each transmit can be replicated to reach up to 8 simultaneous destinations. So this can send a lot of streams. You have support for primary backup inputs per stream. Is exactly the same as the Cobalt decoders. They have primary backup. It has the same primary backup. In fact, the GUI is exactly the same. Multi-link support under bonding and seamless switching, and full risk support, simple profile, main profile baseline, and main profile DTLS level with encryption and certificate-based authentication. So the SafeLink gateway now is at the same time as the other members of the products in the compression line. Any questions on this? All right. So now for something new, something else new, which are the wave routers and control panels. So the first one is not new. It is our existing openGear router. We have this called the 9942 RTR, which is now a member of the wave router family. And you have a 12 by 12 or 24 by 24 12 gig routers. And it supports all the way from 12 gig all the way to SD-STI, as well as ASI and MADI. It's compatible with a number of control panels and supports RP168 reference-based switching. So I'm talking about this router. We've had it for a while, and we continue to have it, but it's now part of a member or part of a bigger family. The big deal is this one, the new wave router, the 64 square. We're coming up with a 64 by 64 wave router. You will see it at IBC if you come visit us. There will be a 32 by 32 model following shortly after, with the same specs, all the way from SD to 4K with ASI and MADI, with the same set of IP-based protocols, PESA, SWP08, and the Cobalt protocol. Cobalt is going to have a router protocol, much more modern protocol based on RESTful WebSocket interface. So it's a modern protocol. You're going to have a nice built-in web-based interface. So if you don't want to have a panel, you can just control it through a web-based interface, as well as RP168 switching, which is table stakes. Salvo, so you can define a salvo, press a button, and the salvo gets applied. You can memorize salvo, recall, push, all of that. Upon a customer request, we did this one with full-size BNC. So you can use the normal cables. I know there's a lot of people, a lot of companies make that with HD BNC, and we'll probably do one with HD BNCs as well. But it's something more robust with full-size BNCs. So because of the full-size BNCs, it's 4RU with a redundant power supply. And since the name of the game is quiet, it's this guy is passively cooled up to 50 degrees C ambient. So if you put it up to 50 degrees C ambient, it does not have a fan. It's going to make no noise whatsoever. Now, if you want to use that on a more stressful environment, a more warmer environment, there's a fan kit which is field installed. So you can just order the fan kit and put the fan in it. This is available Q3. We're going to be shipping the first units late September, early October. There's people expecting that. Now, what about control panels? So Cobalt's coming up with control panels. We have 4 panels planned. You're going to see 2 of them at IBC, the first 2 here. The top one is a flagship panel. It's the Wave CP48L, which uses backlit LCD buttons. So for people, every button has a color, multiple colors, and is like a little LCD screen. So every button, you can put something written on it. So you don't have to go cut pieces of paper and put it in the buttons. Now, that's going to cost you, right? So it's going to be a little bit more expensive panel. But you also have full APIs available for integration. So if you want to have your own code riding in this panel, it's possible. The next panel on the list, the one in the middle, It's the Wave CP78, which has also got backlit buttons, but they are membrane buttons. So that one, unfortunately, you're going to have to put the little pieces of paper. You're going to cut them and put them. If you work with panels, you know what I'm talking about. It's going to be more cost-effective panel, but that's how you do it. And it has a little LCD front panel. So both panels have, you see the back, you have 20 GPOs and 20 GPIs. Some of them will be options. Dual power supplies and PoE++, which is an option. So you can power this panel just from a PoE link, so you don't have to run a power supply to it. Of course, if you want a redundant power, then you need more, but you can run it a PoE. So those are 2 RU panels. We are planning, we'll have 1 RU versions of that. I don't have pictures of them, but the CP42L is just that cut in half. So instead of 4 rows of button, 2 rows of button, and the CP44L is just that cut in half with it still has the LCD display but less buttons. So that's it. So we'll have a complete line of panels. And again, you'll be able to see this one and this one, the top 2, the CP48L and the CP78 at IBC. We'll have them there. You can press the buttons and see how they feel.
Yeah, and customers and partners can request the routers for demos now. The units will be available in the next couple of weeks, and the control panels for demo at the end of Q4.
All right. Thank you, Susanna. And that's not all. We have new frames too. openGear frames and updates. All right, we're talking about 2 new openGear compatible frames, which we call the HPF-9500, which is an evolution of the HPF-9000. The 9500 is essentially the 9000 with gigabit Ethernet backplane connections to all slots and some improved cooling. Same power as the HPF-9000, but with gigabit Ethernet connections. And we have a new HPF-MAX, where you see a picture there. They all look the same, but a little bigger front LCD panel with the same gigabit Ethernet to all slots. The sophisticated cooling means that all the fans are smart now, both the power supply fans and the front fan. So it will basically only run the fan as fast as it needs to be. And this will be the highest power frame in the market with 700 watts total. For that, there's 2 new frame controllers. There is a HPF-9500FC, which is the equivalent of our current HPF-FC. Doesn't have a gigabit backplane, but physically fits on the 9500 frame. And it's a low-cost frame controller without the gigabit Ethernet. And then there's the new one with the gigabit Ethernet, with the top-of-the-line gigabit Ethernet switch. And I want to stress that it's a good Ethernet switch. It's a decent Ethernet switch. It works just fine. It works better than some other gigabit Ethernet switches, which I'm not going to say the name. And that will fit both in the 9500 and the HPF-MAX. So we have this nifty little matrix. You have 2 frames, the 9500 and the MAX. In the 9500, you can put the low-end network controller, the 9500FC, or the one with a gigabit switch. The HPF-9500 will use the same PS9000 power supplies that used today in the HPF-9000. The HPF-MAX, we use this network controller, the one with the gigabit, and a new power supply. So that gives you 3 combinations. Now you can tweak your frame, or you can choose the frame based on the application. At the lowest end, you have something that's basically equivalent to the HPF-9000 today with the lowest cost. So if all you want is a frame full of DAs, you go for that because you don't need a lot of power, you don't need gigabit Ethernet, so you can optimize the cost. If you If you want a mid-grade frame, you want the gigabit, but you don't need all that power, you combine the HPF 9500 with the HPF gigabit card, controller card. Now you have gigabit. And if you want everything, you go to the HPF-MAX with that card. So you can mix and match. And the nice thing about the 9500 is you can swap. If you buy it today and think, wow, I don't need this gigabit backplane, but tomorrow you decide, oh, wow, I need it. You just swap the network card and you have that. And the slide deck will be available afterwards, yes. So I know someone may ask, the current HPF-FC network card is not compatible with these two frames, essentially because it doesn't have enough pins in the back. Now I'm going to turn it back to Chris for other product updates. Chris, take it away.
Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. So to continue on the conversion Sapphire platform that I briefly talked about, the bidirectional card that I mentioned earlier in this presentation. Well, we also have these other very popular now, or at least are starting to become very popular. We have already a good number of these installed with some key customers. But what is very unique, I briefly mentioned, is what it offers within the card itself, right? That it offers out of the box, the frame sync, and then you also have full control of the AV controls on the input and output. So that means that you can fully, adjust or make changes as needed to your input and your output. So that obviously, as if any of you guys or many of you guys know, with an HDMI, there's a lot of parameters that can be adjusted for any of the colorimetry, the bit rate and all that. So all that can be done. What is very unique, though, is that we're kind of continuing on this trend where we're trying to maximize the footprint of these cards, right? So we, in this particular case, this is our SDI to HDMI card that has 2 channels in one card. So essentially you have 2 fully independent channels that behave as if there were 2 cards in one card. And these 2 channels, they are both capable of doing your conversion, but also being able to do color correction if you need to match monitors or match your lighting. You can make all those adjustments within each of these 2 channels that are inside of one card. And as I mentioned before, you can also do your conversion. So you can do scaling within each of these 2 channels to further allow you to adapt any of the sources to any of the destinations, whether it's HDMI or SDI, but in this case, because we're going from SDI to HDMI, so you may want to conform it to the output requirement. So this is what this SDI to HDMI does. Next slide.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
There's a question. Does this card support the plus FRC option?
So it's through the scaler. Basically, it is supporting that frame rate conversion, and it's again. And I should also mention that this platform does share a lot of its DNA with our most popular flagship, which is the 9904. So the element that we're using here for the scaling is essentially similar to that. So there is no I guess difference in terms of the quality, and it does provide that conversion between the frame rates that oftentimes is required. And so now on the other end, so now if I have a source that's deriving from an HDMI source or interface, I can also do the same thing, and now it's going backwards the other way. So instead of going SDI, now I'm coming in HDMI to SDI. So again, all that I mentioned for the other, the 9926 S2H, now I have the controls, again, similar set of controls that are provided within the same, 2 channels that are offered within this platform. So again, one thing that I always want to highlight is that we offer by default frame sync, which is a big deal for any of those workflow requirements that need to have consistent or constant frame sync throughout any of the workflow or the chain of processing. So this is something that we offer within these cards. So there is no need to feed it externally to any of the signals that get processed. And then there's a question, HDCP.
Yes.
So HDCP, if you have HDCP, we do not, it is compliant, so we do conform to that. And just to put it out there, some people have asked us in the past if we could manipulate or turn it on and off. We cannot do any of that, but we do conform to all the HDCP regulations and requirements.
Let me take that. If you're asking, can we take HTCP, something with HTCP and strip it and put SDI? Absolutely not. We're not allowed to do that legally. So if you provide an HDMI with HTCP, then nothing is going to come out. And while we could easily design something like that, we're not legally allowed to do so.
Right.
Back to you, Chris.
Okay, next slide, please. And so to further add a little more, functionality, and again, in a single openGear card footprint, we also now offer this 4-channel HDMI to SDI. Again, everything that I've been mentioning about these cards with the ability to do color correction and the onboard frame sync and just the full feature or controls on the input and the output. Now we offer the same thing, but now in a 4-channel configuration. So again, as if you had 4 cards in one card. What this means is that now you have a very good density within an openGear platform that allows you to do this sort of conversion. And we're seeing a sort of a growth in demand for this, where people want to do your basic conversion, but also at the last minute you may want to do some conditioning to your color. To if you have, for example, you want to change the frame rate, convert it to something else. You can also do this with these cards. And again, these all, not because they're very simple conversion cards, they also do share a lot of the DNA with the more upscale flagship products that I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation. Next slide.
There's a question. I know Philip had asked if these support the plus FRC. I think he meant the linear frame rate conversion more than
right.
Yeah. Okay.
We said it does. It provides that with the scaling option.
Yeah. We just need to add the option to the product. Sorry. So that's an update that's coming to the website, options. And there's a question about HDCP compliance.
Yeah, we just answered it.
We just answered that one as well. Okay, and then also to what we have here, it's our new BBG 1300 FR. We think it's still new. It's not that new. We've actually had it now, but we're starting to see a lot more demand for this. And what is very unique about this is that it's, as you see here in this picture, it's a full, standalone platform that is basically a full-blown openGear frame. So what it offers out of the box is really it's a good set of features, and what it offers a lot of bang for the money, meaning that you have redundant power, you have full SNMP support, you also have advanced networking, which is quite amazing for this small platform. You can either control it through dashboard, or you can also control it through the front panel. As you can see, this the front panel can also open up so that you can sliding any openGear card, and this is why this is a full-blown openGear frame. Now, if you have 3 of these, you can put them in a sort of rack mount kind of kit where you can put 3 of these side by side in a 1RU space, 19-inch rack space, and now you have all the controls, all the feature set that you would expect from dashboard, but also you can control it, like I said, through the front panel, and that often is the case for somebody that runs out of real estate in a rack. Let's say you're in a broadcast center, you have a flight pack that maybe you want to maximize your controls and production tools. Well, you can have this. And what is also very popular for is like a lot of these OB vans that have limited space. This is a great solution for that, just because you can have the same level of control as you would have with the other bigger HPF type of frames, but in a smaller footprint. So this is the BBG 1300. And then to illustrate what is possible with this BBG 1300, well, we created this sort of workflow idea or example to illustrate what happens when you marry this little BBG 1300 with our multiprocessor 9905. So for example, I may have different scenarios for workflow requirements. For example, if I have an S-log signal, right, that needs to be conformed to a specific, 3D LUT, or being able to generate a Q file for post-production, then I can do that with this, configuration using the 9905. I can also take level B sources and then conform that to a more broadcast standard if I need to by using the internal controls of the 9905, and it's all done in a small package. And then I can also take your regular broadcast level signals, level A, for example, from a switch, and then do all the processing and then deliver either an SDI or an HDMI from that source. And then I can also, because there's an option for 3D LUTs within this 9905, I can also manage those, from archive LUT files or sources, and then I can conform that to whatever destination I want. And this is all very, very unique because a lot of people have asked us in the past, hey, do you have something like the other brands out there that are standalone, that are self-contained in a small package? Well, the beauty with our solutions is that now you can grab any of our award-winning, openGear platforms and then just package it in with this BBG 1300. And now you have a very robust solution that will give you that flexibility to be able to manage different sources and deliver to different destinations, as we highlight in this slide here. Next slide. And then this is another solution. I don't know if many of you have ever poked around on our website or through our products, but we have other products that are based on this platform, which we call the BBG Blue line. Basically, it's break, throw down little boxes. We have a lot of what everybody else has, including like SDI to HDMI, HDMI to SDI. We also have basically little DAs. But we've now started to offer more solutions in the UHD or 4K space. So now with this, for example, this little box offers now is the ability to take a 12G SDI signal and then deliver a fiber out from this little box without having to have your traditional openGear frame and controls and all that. This can easily be deployed. For example, in most cases, a customer ran out of real estate in their setup, but may want to add a channel or two channels with a fiber, then this would be a very good complement for that sort of scenario. But you can also use it, by itself in a very remote, or portable configuration if needed. And what this offers is the ability to support, SDI signals, including ASI and MADI. In some cases, for example, people just want to use this for transporting MADI over fiber. You can use one of these little boxes for that. So there's no need to use it specifically for video and audio. But for example, as I said, you can just use it for MADI audio transport over to, let's say, a mixing console or something like that. Next slide. And then on the opposite end, we have the mating little BBG Blue box that sort of connects with that. If somebody's delivering a signal over fiber that's a 12G signal, then you can simply put this on the receiving end, and now you have a very low-cost, practical solution that can give you that flexibility to be able to manage receiving those signals over fiber. And then I should also add that these products, even though they look very simple, low cost, they do share a lot of the DNA with our openGear fiber cards, and that includes our very popular now 9915 DA, which offers also the ability to have fiber using SFPs. In this case, we don't have SFPs, but they're also, it's a built-in solution in a small package that offers the same level of quality and flexibility. And as you can see here, we have the ability to have ST, LC, or FC connectors. And all these little boxes come with the 5-year warranty and have very robust, heat management, which is oftentimes the issue with a lot of the competition products out there. So again, these are, we wanted to include these as sort of solutions for somebody that's looking for a low-cost, practical fiber transport.
Thank you, Chris. Now we're going to finish this off by telling you what you're going to see at the IBC booth. We're going to have a full 4K over 2110 demo with bring a 4K in, convert it to 2110 12 gigabit per second on 25 gig Ethernet, and then convert it back to SDI. And we'll have a fabrics analyzer there to show you how good a job we're doing, since we're very proud of it. This is the other demo I promised, UltraBlue IP multiviewer. We're going to have just a Dell server, and you will be able to see what GPUs and everything we have. But we're going to have 2 screens connected to the same multiviewer, one in portrait mode and one in landscape mode. And you'll be able to drag and drop stuff between one and the other. So that will be a very powerful demo. We'll have a demo of the Pacific line, the Pacific ultra low latency decoder. So the way we plan to show this is we'll start with a signal that it'll be exactly the same signal you see there. It'll be a color pattern with a moving box. I'm not going to go use normal video because this is easier to see. With a burned-in time code, we're going to encode, decode that, and put both source and decoded into one of our multiviewers so you can see them side by side, and you'll be able to freeze the screen and see how well we're doing. So that will be there. And we'll have display units for the Sapphire, the wave router. You're going to be able to see and touch it, and the control panel, the LCD control panel. We're actually going to have also the membrane button as well, the 78, and we'll have an HPF 9500 frame there too, so you can see it in real life. And that's it. Thank you. Back to you, Susanna.
All right. Thank you so much, Ciro. Thank you, Chris. I'm always amazed how many products we develop in such a short period of time, really. Like all the new products at NAB, and now all these new products between NAB and IBC, and here we are. Does anyone have any further questions? Anything about product demos, availability? Anything you might want to know? Like I said before, the ultra low latency decoder is going to be less than half the price of the current 9992 decoder. The same with the control panel. The 78 membrane simpler panel is less than half than the full LCD backlit LCD panel, the 84L. So there's attractive pricing for those that need very cost-effective solutions, as well as the more expensive top of the line type of feature set for those who want to go that way. So let's see here. Somebody posted a question.
No, I would say no. The 9992 encoder that always had ULL. It's the same product, right, Susanna?
Yes.
Are we changing the price on that one?
No, we're not changing the price, and that product is very interesting because that product, starts at a very, very low price, the base model, and as you add features, it's software defined. You can go all the way up to everything HBC and 4K, which is the complete package. But that product is very, very well priced. The decoder lowest price used to be a little bit high end for some of the applications, and now we introduced this much lower cost-based decoder. So now I think the decoder and encoder, the existing encoder with the new decoder, the pair is going to be much more cost effective for a number of other applications that were not quite hitting the price point before. So that's the exciting news. Without taking any much of your time, I'm sorry. I was checking Skype messages as well as text messages and this chat box all about this webinar with folks that got in late, folks that didn't get in, folks that were running late and never made it. So I was trying to multitask during the webinar. But thank you very much for everything. Thanks for being with us today. And this will be posted on the YouTube channel in the next couple of days. And hopefully we'll see you all at IBC soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ciro. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.